right, my good friends, this is what to expect in Unit 2. If there's a DBQ about Unit 2. One thing I forgot to mention in Unit 1 was Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia was where there was kind of a mix of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam from the trading and the monsoon winds. There was the Khmer kingdom. There was the Srivijaya kingdom, etc. Champa rice came from the Khmer kingdom, etc. We saw a lot of things about the rulers using religion to legitimize their rule. Okay, so if that would show up, they had a mix down in Southeast Asia of Islam, which was kind of appealing to the lower classes, compared to Hinduism, where you were born in a caste system and you couldn't go anywhere. So there could be some on there. I wouldn't put huge bet on it, but it's possible. All right, so let's look at Unit 2. What to expect in Unit 2 if there's a question. So basically, Unit 2 is the Mongols, the Silk Road, the Indian Ocean Network, and the Trans-Saharan Network. So this is the trading networks. Trade networks 1450, so it's 1200 to 1450. Sorry, I had to close my door. My kids are fighting over Duplo blocks right now. All right, so if there's something in there about the Mongols, remember Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan was the founder, starts around 1200, 1259. They take down the Abbasid Caliphate. Kublai Khan was the emperor of the Yuan Empire down in China. And they have hordes, the Golden Horde in Russia. They were horseback. They used the camel saddle, the horse stirrups. So they were traders. They had their blue eternal sky was like their religion, but they listened to religions. But the Mongols, why they were important, not because they created things, is that they transferred. They were conduits. They were carriers of culture, of technology, of money. Okay, so they didn't create things. They were nomadic herd people. They lived out on the steppes away from China, and that because they roamed around, they had to trade with people, and they were on horseback. They lived in yurts, etc. So definitely I could see something on the test about the Mongols. So 1200 to 1450, the Mongols, they're kind of here, and they have this 100-year reign of the biggest empire since even bigger than the Romans. We saw a graph of Tamerlane or Timur. He comes a little bit later in the Mongol Empire. He took over Persia in the Ilkhanate horde, and he had one of the biggest empires himself. But so the Mongols were they were like the original land-based empire. They go from Mongolia all the way into the Middle East. They do get stopped several times, and usually it had something to do with not being able to take all your horses into battle. Like the kamikaze winds prevented them from taking over Japan. They got stopped in Egypt, but they were very impressive, and they ran the show on the Silk Road. So the Mongols and the Silk Road go hand in hand. Caravansaries, banking houses, Samarkand, myrrh from China to Constantinople, camels, stirrups. The stirrups where you put your feet in to make you ride faster on a horse. It's the Silk Road is not silk. The women would feed the fig leaves to the worms, and they would produce the thread in China. But it wasn't really silk that was important. It was all the ideas and technology and money and all that kind of stuff, giving people jobs, etc. The economics of the Silk Road was huge. So that goes from China into Constantinople, and then Venice was like the Italian city that took everything from the Silk Road and then got it up into Europe. The Indian Ocean Trading Network. The Indian Ocean Network, we way back in the beginning of the year, we read a really long article and we talked about finding facts. If you remember that, it's called Southernization of the Indian Ocean Network. Kind of like when you hear the term Westernization, it means like countries trying to keep up with like United States and England and Canada today. Well, they said back in the day it was more like Southernization. Like everybody was trying to keep up with the major players in the Indian Ocean. So the Indian Ocean Network was like one big circle. Basically, everybody that touched the Indian Ocean, from Africa over to China, was the Indian Ocean Trading Network. What was different from the Indian Ocean Trading Network, if you got to compare and contrast between trading networks here, the Silk Road was luxury goods because it was being carried by camels and they couldn't carry that much. Also, it took a long time, so you want to make a lot of money off of what you're taking because it took you so long to do so. Indian Ocean Trading Network was a lot faster. They figured out the monsoon winds. They figured out how to sail with the wind and against the wind with the lateen sail. The Dow ship and the junks were these two huge ships that could bring so much cargo in the bottom of them. And also religion, the spread of Islam, which I have there. So the Dow ship, the lateen sail. So basically, everybody that's on the Indian Ocean, borders the Indian Ocean, this is the peaceful time in the Indian Ocean. So you could get like compare and contrast the Indian Ocean from 1200 to 1600. Before the Europeans arrived, nobody had any weapons on their ships. The Muslim traders did not bring any weapons. Why did they need any? Nobody was there to attack them. Nobody was there to battle them for trading spots, etc. So they were not armed. But when the Europeans come into the Indian Ocean Network after Vasco da Gama makes his way into the Indian Ocean for Portugal, they realized these Muslims realize that the Europeans now have weapons on their ships, and now pretty soon they're going to have cannons on their ships. And this was a big change for the Indian Ocean Network. So the Europeans changed it probably for the worse, you would say, in terms of like the bloodshed and the fighting that's going to go on. It no longer becomes a peaceful, cooperative state. It's now going to be a battle royale for terror, or for trading empires, I should say. So that's the Indian Ocean Network. The Trans-Saharan, I could see maybe a source if you get something about trading networks. I don't think it would probably be too much on here, but Trans-Saharan, you have the camel saddle being talked about. Camels could go 14 days, they discover, without water, so they have wells throughout the Saharan desert. And then the camel saddle made it easy to ride a camel in between their humps. Salt was in North Africa. They would mine the salt in big salt tablets. They would trade. And this is the Europeans. Is the big thing that's going on is something that's staying the same. Is that another thing, and this has to do with the environment of Unit 2, is all these diseases are getting spread along the trade networks. And that's a bad thing, but it also can be a good thing. So it's bad because the Black Death was 1347 to 1351. So well within this trading network unit. The bad thing about the Black Death is it wiped out maybe half of Europe's population. The good thing is it ends feudalism, and also for all these networks is people start becoming immune to all the diseases. So unlike the Native Americans who die at an alarming rate, and sometimes people say in some cases like 90% of the natives die after being in contact with the Europeans. This does not affect the Europeans and the Africans and the Asians anymore because they're all interconnected with one another. Their bodies have developed immunities to these diseases, which the natives had not. So that is Unit 2. This would be a good thing to put some dates in here. I'm not going to go through and put all these dates in here. If I were you, I'd go to File, make a copy, and put your initials, and that can be your copy of this. It has all kinds of dates, etc. I'm almost done. I'm on Unit 5, and I'm getting you a lot of information here. All right, so that will wrap it up for what to maybe predict for Unit 2. So let me click out of here. Eventually.